Hi everyone, my name's Emma and Alice has asked me just to share a few thoughts with you, hopefully over the next few weeks, which is great. I'm thrilled to be able to share with you. We're going to look at some questions over the next few weeks. Do you know the first question that God asks in the Bible is Genesis 3 verse 9, where he says to Adam, "Where are you?" He knew exactly where Adam was and why he was hiding, but he wanted Adam to explain himself. And right from that first question, all the questions that God asks in the Bible are not because he doesn't know the answer. He knows all things. But the questions he asks in the Old and the New Testament were to get us to think, to repent, and to return to or deepen our relationship with him. Do you know Jesus was asked 183 questions that we have written in the Gospels? So across Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, Jesus is asked 183 questions. He answered 3 directly. And he often answered a question with a question. In fact, we have 307 questions in the Gospels that Jesus actually asked. Hopefully over the next few weeks, we're just going to look at 5 of them. We're going to look at, do you want to get well? Who touched me? Why are you afraid? Are you also going to leave? And who do you say I am? So today we're going to have a look at, do you want to get well? So I'm going to read to you from John 5 verses 1 to 15. Soon another feast came around and Jesus was back in Jerusalem. Near the sheep gate in Jerusalem there was a pool, in Hebrew called Bethesda. It had 5 alcoves, hundreds of sick people, blind, crippled, paralysed were in these alcoves. One man had been an invalid there for 38 years. When Jesus saw him stretched out by the pool, he knew how long he'd been here and he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" The sick man said, "Sir, when the water is stirred, I don't have anyone to put me in the pool. By the time I get there, someone else is already in." Jesus said, "Get up, take your bedroll and start walking." The man was healed on the spot. He picked up his bedroll and walked off. That day happened to be the Sabbath. And the Jews stopped the healed man and said, "It's the Sabbath. You can't carry your bedroll around. It's against the rules." But he told them, "The man who made me well told me to. He said, 'Take your bedroll and start walking.'" They asked, "Who gave you the order to take it up and start walking?" But the healed man didn't know, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd. A little later, Jesus found him in the temple and said, "You look wonderful. You're well. Don't return to a sinning life, or something worse may happen." The man went back and told the Jews that it was Jesus who'd made him well. Do you want to be well? Doesn't that seem like such an odd question for Jesus to ask a man who's been an invalid for 38 years? The man had been lying by the pool of Bethesda, waiting to be cured. For all those years, tradition had it, you see, that a spirit every so often would put their hand in the water and cause a ripple, cause the water to be stirred. And actually, if you were the first person to jump in the water after it had been stirred supposedly by the spirit, you could be healed. That's what they were all waiting for. Hundreds of people waiting for the water to be stirred, just staring at the pool. When asked this question by Jesus, did you notice the man doesn't even answer him? He explains his situation. Did you see that? He says that I never get there in time. I've never got anyone to put me in the pool. I'm never going to get healed. Jesus wanted to know if this man knew what he wanted. But what he says to Jesus, in effect, is that he wants someone to get him in the pool so he can be healed. Maybe he thought Jesus was offering to get him into the pool. What he doesn't realise is he's been spoken to by the King of Kings. He can do way more than get him in the pool. Do you know, the condition of so many of us today is just like that man who's watching the pool, waiting for something to happen. Is that you today? Are you waiting for something to happen? When we complain to God about our circumstances or give him excuses as to why we're still in the same place spiritually or emotionally year after year, perhaps that question is aimed at us today. Do you want to get well? Do you want to move forward? Spiritually, emotionally? Do you want to progress? Do you want to develop? Do you want to go to a new place where God can be your all in all, not the situation that maybe we've let actually define us? What is wonderful about this passage is that the minute this man takes his eyes off the pool and puts his eyes on Jesus, there's a miracle. He was healed immediately. This man doesn't even know who Jesus is when he's asked. That day he had this miraculous physical healing. And we're told that later on, and we don't know if that's in a couple of days or later on that day, when Jesus is in the temple, Jesus heals this man again. He heals him spiritually. Then he knows who Jesus is. I love it that Jesus hadn't finished with him by healing him physically, that actually there was so much more important healing to be done, and that was his spiritual healing. So a couple of things for us just to think about today. As we look at the healing of this paralysed man, I think we should see a need in our own lives to take our eyes off our pulls and put them on Jesus. What is your pull? The place where you're stuck, the thing you're fixated with, the false hope maybe that takes your eyes off God. Or maybe you feel like it's not that drastic a pull, but something is keeping you from moving forward, from growing and developing your relationship with Jesus. What about if Jesus was walking past your Bethesda today and what he says to you is, do you want to be well? Do you want to be well? He wants to heal. He wants to transform your life and my life. And we all need to hear that question today and respond. Can you imagine what miracles might happen if we took our eyes off the thing that's distracting us and focused them on Jesus? Don't miss Jesus walking past today. Don't miss him asking you that question. The other thing is, Jesus calls this man to rise up and walk. It's a new life. He's got a new life as he rises up and walks. And Jesus says that to us. He wants us to rise up and to walk in a life of communion with him, to know him, to love him, to seek him, and to know his will for our lives. How long will we wait for something to happen? Maybe today as well, Jesus is saying, rise up, walk, stop waiting. It's time. Now is the time to move forward. So let's have a think today. They're big questions. Have you got a pull? Are you looking at something that's taking your eyes off Jesus? Can you hear Jesus asking you if you want to be well? And are you ready to move forward in your walk with him? These are big questions, and they come from one question. Do you want to be well? We need to hear that clearly today. Jesus is walking past. Don't miss him. Don't have your eyes fixed on something else so that you miss him walking past. But Jesus is walking past today and asking us, do you want to be well? And my prayer is that today, as we hear that question, all of us, as we hear that question in our hearts today, that we will respond, not like the man did to start with. Well, the thing is, no. We need to respond in our hearts and say, yes, I want to be well and be blessed by Jesus.